Today we are learning some secret tips to help you achieve a British accent. Hello everybody and welcome to another ETJ English British pronunciation lesson. And as I mentioned just now, we're going to be learning some secret tips, some tips which will help you sound more British. Now when I say British, I do have to say this because I get people from places like Scotland and up in the north of the UK and various other areas complaining, saying that I'm teaching only one British accent. This is the accent I teach, and it's my accent. It's a modified RP, modern RP British accent. So if that's the accent you want, then my videos are for you. If you want a Scottish accent, go and find a Scottish YouTuber, okay? So just a disclaimer there for those of you sensitive people. So these secrets, what are they? Well, these are things which I think are very, very important to the British accent. Things which you need to do if you really want people to think suddenly, oh, they sound a bit British. So that's what we're aiming for today, and these kind of few tips should help you with that. Now there are many different secrets and tips I could give you, but these are just a few. If you want to learn all of the tips and all of the ways of sounding British, you'll need a full-length course, and that's why I have a British English course available, a pronunciation course at etjenglish.com. The link's in the description below. But just for these few kind of free tips, I hope you find them useful, and I really hope they help you with achieving your goals. So let's get started. The first thing I need to tell you, in fact, is to think about words. For example, if you're speaking with a British accent, or you're trying to speak with a British accent, but you say a word like trash instead of rubbish, then you're going to still sound American. You're going to sound like a British person who is struggling with vocabulary and using American vocabulary. So try to avoid American words, okay? Try to use the British form. So as I said, instead of saying trash, say rubbish. And of course you can find various other words which are similar, where we have a British version and Americans have their own version. Maybe I'll make a video about that in the future. Now another really important secret I have for you is don't forget your T's. The letter T, the T sound. Firstly, let's check that you can pronounce it. Let's say a word like to. Now, in the beginning, if you find it difficult, you might find that you're spitting the sound out quite a lot. To. But we need to learn to relax it to sound a bit more natural. Now remember that the tongue rises to the top of the mouth. T, t. And we create some pressure and we release it. Make sure it's nice and relaxed. Don't do a big t, because you might blind someone with your spit, and we don't really want any kind of germs going in other people's faces. So just try and gently produce that sound. T, 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 to. Now the T is extremely important to British English. Make sure you're pronouncing your T's between vowels. Whoa, this is really important. Let's take a word like city. Okay, city. So city, the T is surrounded by two vowels, right? So you have the T and then you have two vowels. Now the important thing here is that you don't pronounce it as a D, which is what Americans do. They would say city. City, city. British English, city, city, t, t. So make sure you can pronounce those T's firstly, and then make sure that between two vowels, you're pronouncing that T. Now there are situations where we can use a glottal T. I could say, for example, I live in a city, city. This is what we call the glottal T. Now, lots of people think that they can just remove the T and that's a glottal T, but it's not. Okay, or it's not. The glottal T is actually a sound, but it's not a sound at the same time. Sit-e. What we're doing is we're creating some tension in our throat, and we're cutting off the sound before the T. So, sit-e, sit-e. Imagine you have a long and then you want to cut the sound out. You have to do it with the tightness in your throat. Sit. City. So that's how we do the glottal T. It's tightening the throat, really tensing it, and cutting a sound out to replace the T. It's very advanced and it's very difficult, and lots of students say to me, Elliot, I can do the glottal T. I say, okay, send me a recording. They send me a recording and it's not right. So it is really, really advanced and it's really difficult. In my suggestion For now, if you don't feel like you're a very advanced British English speaker, start by pronouncing your T's, and then eventually, if you want to, you can start using the glottal T and learning about it, because it's a whole new sound. It's not just a technique, it's almost like a sound. So just a few other words. Americans would say whatever, whatever, and we would say whatever, whatever, or again, whatever, whatever, with the glottal T. So whatever or whatever would be the British version. Water, we would say water, an American would say water, water. We say water or water. Now the difference here is of course the T, but also the vowel sound, and I'm going to talk about vowels a bit later on. Water. But it also happens between words. You heard me then, I just said but it. But it also happens between words. Now an American would say but it also. We say but it also. We have to pronounce that T, or we drop it with a glottal sound. But it, but it, but it, but it. Those are the British way. American, but it. They use a D. So when we have a T, which is between two vowels, whether it's in a word or it's between two words, we pronounce it as a T, or we can use a glottal T. Americans, they use a D to join it. Now, as well as the T's, the R is also very, very important. Sound, right? Like in red. So let's just check that you can pronounce it. Lift your tongue to the top of your mouth. In kind of the bend of your mouth. Feel your tip of your tongue reaching up there. Look at my lips. Red. Red. Now, if you're having trouble pronouncing that, you probably need a teacher to directly help you with that. And as I said, my course is available if you need some help with the R. But the thing that I need you to know is that, and I've taught this in one of my most popular videos, the R is sometimes replaced by vowels. Okay, so for example, course. We don't say course, we say course. Now the reason why, and I've told you this before, we only pronounce the letter R, when there is a vowel sound after it. That's it. So if you see a word and it has an R and followed by a consonant sound, then you know it will be replaced by a vowel. So that vowel could be could, like for example, work. It could be or, for example, course. Could be the R sound, for example, party, party. We're not pronouncing the R. And there are lots of vowels which replace the letter R. So you need to know all of the British vowels to understand when they replace the letter R. But just remember, we only pronounce the R, when there is a vowel sound after it. Easy, so they say. The next important part of British English, an important secret you need to know, is the schwa sound. The schwa sound is about 30 to 40% of British pronunciation. It's everywhere. Everywhere. Everywhere? Everywhere. It's in words like teacher, potato, about, adventure. To can be pronounced as t. And if you didn't realise by now, the sound is And it's a very easy sound to produce. I've taught you this in lessons before, just very quickly so you know. Mouth is relaxed, tongue is relaxed in the middle of the mouth. So there are lots of complex kind of reasons for when and why we use the schwa sound, but you need to know about the schwa sound if you want to sound British. It's so important to British English. For example, as I said before, an American might say teacher, we say teacher. Whenever a word finishes with we pronounce it with okay? And that also goes for the spelling of OR, for example, doctor. So you need to learn a lot about the schwa sound, about how it appears in words, not just replacing but it happens in lots of other situations. I'd be here all day if I had to explain it for you, and that's why there is a whole chapter in my course about the schwa sound. It's that important. I guess just a few kind of important mentions I need to give you. Diphthongs, if you don't know what they are, you need to learn about them. Sounds like ear, air, ow. You need to learn those because they will make you sound really British. Again, they are kind of sounds which replace the letter R. So make sure you know your diphthongs and you've started learning them, but learn your vowels before you learn your diphthongs. A sound which is really important, as well as the schwa sound, to sounding extremely British, in a word like hot, not pot. So an American would say hot, we say hot. This very round shape with the mouth where we lift the tongue in the mouth, oh. It creates such a British sound, you know. For example, it's hot today, right? An American would say it's hot today, but we say it's hot today. And this kind of oh sound really does create a British sense about you. So make sure that you get this sound right and you're not doing the kind of ah open mouth sound. You're doing more of the round shape, oh, and pushing your lips out. So as I said, there are hundreds and hundreds of secrets and tips I could give you about the British accent. These are just a few I wanted to give you today because I think they're quite easy to understand, and they're things which you can start looking at and studying right now and training yourself to do. When we get to more complicated things like stress and intonation, I mean, that's when things get a bit more confusing, and that's when you really need direct contact with a teacher. So if you do need my personal help and you want to learn more secrets and more ways of sounding more British, you can become my student and talk with me with voice messaging on WhatsApp whenever you want, or WeChat. You just have to join my course at etjenglish.com. Remember, you can also use my podcast for listening practice if you need some listening practice. Thank you very much, guys. Please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Take care. I will see you soon. Cheers, guys. Bye.